fall makers, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably know that I posted that I am going to be spending the month just enjoying fall and doing some fun fall makes, simple, fun, yeah, just to celebrate the season, to celebrate thankfulness, gratefulness, having a thankful heart. And I decided on this because my family has had a really difficult time the last several years. We've had a lot of illness, and we lost my father in December of 2021 after a very short illness that started over Thanksgiving week of 2021. And so the holidays just obviously have been different, and even, somewhat difficult as they approach, with memories and things like that. And so I decided this year I was going to make sure that I stopped and I took some time to celebrate this month, the beauty of this month, and to make sure that I focused on things I'm thankful for and having a grateful heart, because there is a lot to be thankful for. And so in doing that, I decided that I was just going to kind of take a step back, relax. I'm not going to feel the pressure to make a tutorial for every one of these things that I make. I may just post a picture on Instagram. I may do a short Instagram tutorial. So be sure you're following me on Instagram. And then some of them I might do tutorials here. Now, that being said, even though I don't want to jump into the Christmas making season yet for me personally, as you know, I have quite a few Christmas makes for the Tim Holtz brands that I made back in August and September. And because I have all of those, I have a backlog of tutorials on my computer that I need to edit, and then I will be sprinkling in among my Thanksgiving grateful posts and makes and things like that. So there will be some Christmas sprinkled in throughout the month, never fear, and there will be tutorials for those that I'll be sharing. But I just wanted to go through and, I have so many things, and I purchased so much product over the years related to fall, and then I never get it used because by the time November comes, I'm tired. I've been working, I've been making, the holidays are coming up, whatever, and so I never get them used. So this year, I'm going to use them, and I've even purchased more new stuff, right? That's always the way it is. We think, oh, I'm going to finally use whatever, and then we buy more new stuff too. So some of the things that I pulled out that I'll share with you, I have some things from Whimsy Stamps that I purchased for the Halloween, for my Halloweeners design season, and that is over. But I never used a couple of these stamps I never used, and this is one of my favorites. This is Fill a Harvest truck stamp set, and I have filled this truck with all kinds of Halloween things, but this month I'm actually going to use the turkey probably. I may use the abundant word here, and I may use the apples. I'm not sure. I may use other things with this Fill a Truck. There are these two cute stamps, Autumn Vibes, and I think this is Pumpkins and Gourds or something like that. So lots of cute pumpkins here, adorable little scarecrows and leaves with happy faces, little acorn with happy faces. So I'll be enjoying using these, making some fun little cards or tags. My friend Nina for Sweet and Sassy Stamps designed this beautiful set with mushrooms and acorns. We've got some flowers and leaves, ferns, and then some beautiful sentiments. There's not one blade of grass, there is no color in the world that is not intended to make us rejoice, by John Calvin. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, Psalm 106:1. Amen to that. Blessed beyond measure. And so I'm looking forward to getting to make these something with these new Colors of Fall stamps from my friend Nina. And okay, I couldn't believe that I had this because I completely forgot about it. But I was going through pulling my stuff from all my Tim Holtz binders, and I found this, and I don't even remember when I bought it, or I think it was part of some sets that maybe Sizzix sold with Stampers Anonymous stamps, and then Sizzix did some framelits to go with them. But I was super excited when I saw this because I obviously haven't used it. It's just been stored in my binder. But I mean, look at all this. It cuts out all kinds of details. It's got the label that you can cut out, the Be Thankful. So perfect for my little project this month. I'm really excited to use this. And the other thing that I was noticing is that as I was getting out my blueprints, so here's the large blueprints with the Acorn in it. And you can see that this is even larger. And then the mini one is tiny compared to both of those. So I did pull these out, and I'm gonna have to order something else. I could not find this set of large blueprints, so I don't know if I just never bought it. I don't know what happened, but it is not anywhere. I looked through all of my Tim Holtz binders. It took me forever, and not there. And there's a raven. I love ravens, so I'm definitely going to order this set in a large, and hopefully it'll come in and I will be able to use it because I love the wheat and the pumpkin, especially because it's not a jack-o'-lantern, it's a pumpkin. And so super excited to use that. So I'm going to get that. This is a new set from Tim for Halloween this year. This is the sketchy leaves, and I didn't get around to using this when I was designing in this July and August. So I am looking forward to using this. So this is supposed to be like those book etchings, you know, for illustrations. And I think they look really cool. I'm just going to color them up, and I don't know what all I'm going to do with them, but I'm looking forward to using these. And then these were from Halloween, oh gosh, a couple of years ago. So this is the Exquisite, and I think, yeah, obviously I used this, but I think I can make this fall. And so, and I love this along with it. So I'm going to try and make something kind of fall feeling with this. And then this is a favorite. I love these kind of crackly pressed foliage stamps from Tim and Stampers Anonymous. These are so fun to color. So I'm going to be hopefully using those as well. Also from Whimsy, I have a couple of background stamps and that I'm going to be using. I've used these a couple of times for Halloween makes, but I think they're perfect for fall. And then I picked up this die set this year from Whimsy, and I think this would make a great background for some stamps too. So I'm going to be using that. I have lots of other things I'm going to be using. But, oh, and over here I also pulled from Tim, I pulled the new tiny prints that were part of the everyday release this spring. So that is great for backgrounds for fall. And also this was a Halloween release, but it's got this great script, and I love this flower. I think that would make a really pretty fall card as well. So this is just a few of the things that I've kind of pulled out and have around me to be able to use. So I'm going to pick something out of all of this that I've talked to you about, and I'm going to go ahead and get started making. The other thing I'm going to do today is that I'm going to stamp a whole bunch of these and just color them. I'm going to a crop tomorrow, and I want to have something to do there besides kits, and something that will kind of help further me in my goal to make a bunch of fall things. So in some of the things that I share, you may not see me coloring these pieces because I think it'll kind of save a little time, and I may be doing that off camera. But just so you know, that's probably kind of where I'm going to go with that. But for today, let me see if I can make something really quick so that we can kick this whole Thanksgiving gratitude making season off with something really fun from what I have here. All right, so let me choose something and I'll be back. I have settled on the Be Thankful Acorn, Sizzix, Stampers Anonymous, Tim Holtz set that I found that I completely forgot that I had. I think this is the perfect way to kick off my thankful making season. It's got the perfect sentiment, be thankful. It's got acorns, which I love to use for Thanksgiving. I have tons of acorns in my decor. Also, because it is a product that I had that I completely forgot I had and that I'd never used. So now I'm finally going to get to use it. So I'm really excited about that. I'm going to stamp it on Distress Mixed Media Heavystock in Ground Espresso Archival ink. I am also going to use Distress Mixed Media Heavystock for stamping my other things that I'm going to be coloring at the crop tomorrow. All the things that would need to be colored in. And that way, all of my makes will kind of have the same look to them, which is that kind of underlying cream color instead of, say, watercolor, which is white. I like the way that the cream gives it kind of an antique, vintagey look to it. And so I'm going to be using this Mixed Media Heavystock for probably most of my stamping for the month. So any of my color things that I'm going to be coloring in and using, I'm going to go ahead and stamp on this after I finish my acorn card. I finished my stamping and I stamped 3 because if you look at the dies for this set, it has different things that you can cut out to add layers. And so I figured I needed to stamp several layers. I also stamped 3 sentiments because it kind of messed up on a couple of them. And so I'm hoping one of them will work out. And again, I always tell myself it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't. So I'm sure one of them will work out fine. This will cut out whichever one I decide to use. So before I cut them out, though, I will be coloring them. I'm going to use my Distress watercolor pencils to color them, and the Distress watercolor pencil palette that I made from the shavings when I first got these pencils, and a water brush. So that's what I'll be using to color these, as well as probably the other things, because these are easy to transport and take to a crop rather than, you know, taking all of my distress inks. But I may go ahead and take my mini distress inks as well for all of the things that I'm going to stamp and color at the crop tomorrow. All right, so before I cut this out and assemble my acorn, I wanted to share with you something very quickly. So remind me this is going to be quick, okay? I have this that is sitting next to my working station, and it's on my Tim Holtz rolling cart. And this poor thing is just packed full of stuff that is usually left over of my making sessions. And if I didn't finish it or didn't use it or whatever, and I was trying a technique out and I tried it out on a bunch of different, you know, with a bunch of different colors, different things like that, then it gets put in here for me to go through and maybe use later on. But then what ends up happening is I forget they're in here and I don't go through it, and I make something new every time. So for my making season, I am going to try and go through this and use up some of these things. All right. So I'm telling you this so that you can help remind me that I need to do that. So when I look through here, there's all kinds of things. There are some things that are already stamped that I just never made into cards. And look at this. I made, you know, something for fall, for something, I don't know. So I could actually, you know, cut those out and use it. So these are all different things that I've stamped and never used. So those I just tucked in there. Sometimes I die cut backgrounds and then don't end up using them. They get tucked in there. Sometimes I'm testing out some stencils and some techniques to see how those work, and those get tucked in here. Sometimes I am working on other types of techniques, like this is a favorite technique, which is stamping on alcohol ink cardstock, which is very porous, with archival, and then going over it with distress ink, and it colors in the background. And the archival acts as a resist. I totally love doing this. And so, and some of these you may look at and go, oh, what was she thinking? I really wasn't. I was just trying stuff out. And, you know, obviously I didn't use these because I didn't feel like you know, they worked for the time, but you never know when you're going to be making something and later on, hey, that thing is going to work out really well. For example, this one might work out really well for a background for my acorn. I don't know, but I have it here, right? So there's that. I have in here another, I was working on, I think I have a couple of these in here somewhere. I was working on the Distress, the embossing resist, the iron off resist. And so this is the one that I embossed in Distress glaze, and then I ironed it off like this, and the Distress glaze melted into this one. And so I got two backgrounds for one. So something like this, you know, you never know, I might be able to use. Here's another one. These are more fall colors, right? So this is the one that I embossed with the Distress glaze. Then I ironed it off onto this one. So 2 for 1 with those backgrounds. And this one is actually would probably be a great fall background. All right, so there's that. Sometimes I just emboss things and then decide to use it or not. So I stick those in there, even die cut backgrounds, whether I decide to use those or not. And so anyway, and then a lot of times I even just save little bits of things because you never know if you want to stamp a sentiment on something, you know, so just save a little piece of that color. And then you have little strips here for sentiments or little banners or little, you know, something to tuck under. Like there's not much here, but I could tuck this under the edge of something, right? And it's got Distress embossing glaze on it. It's a pretty little piece. So it could just be a little bit of something that adds some texture. This would be great for a fall card that I could tuck under my acorn on a background, right? Just adds a little punch of something. So you don't need to throw everything away. You might find that you can use it. However, I will say that you do have to be careful because only so much fits. And if you're not careful, you have huge overflow of things that, you know, maybe you didn't need to save or whatever. It's always hard for me to decide. So that's why this is so packed in here. And then I have a couple of other storage containers with other things, die cuts and some of that stuff that I didn't use at the time, but that I might want to use some other time. This is when I stamped and inked on some canvas. So anyway, lots of fun things in here. I'm going to be using this, so keep reminding me so that I can use these up and make room for some new stuff. All right, so I'm going to start coloring. I'm going to pick a background out of my little container here, and we're going to get this card finished. I just used the 3 brown colors that are in the Distress watercolor pencil line. And one is Vintage Photo, one is Frayed Burlap, and the other is Walnut Stain. So I just used those to color in all 3 acorns so that I could decide which parts I was going to cut out with the dies. And then I picked that sentiment and label and colored it in with the same brown watercolor pencils. And then I went in and blended them all together with my water brush. And then I started to cut them out. Now, as I was cutting, I realized that I wasn't probably going to get them centered, and you know that drives me crazy. So I went ahead and cut the shapes out of black cardstock, and I used that Gina K tip that I learned recently. And it really was easy with the dark cardstock to make sure that I had the outline just right. And then I taped the cardstock on and I was able to just fit those dies snugly right into the cardstock opening so that I could make sure that I got the outline of each piece just right. Now, I know everybody's different and everybody has their own technique, and this technique may not be work for you, and that's great. You do what works for you. I really love this little tip that I learned from Gina K, and I'm going to keep doing it. But like I said, you do what works for you. Now, once I had them all cut out, I went ahead and went around the outside of each
with some walnut stain distress ink. And now I wanted to make my card base. So I got out my new trimmer from Tim Holtz and Tonic. I love this trimmer. The guide stays up, and so you just slide the paper right under. You don't even have to lift the guide up and down. It has a scoring blade and a trimming blade, so it makes for trimming very easy. You can see where you need to cut, and so I am cutting the background that I chose a little bit earlier. This background is one that I was practicing stamping with distress watercolor pencils and making a background. And so uh, I thought that that went well with the Acorn since I colored it with distress watercolor as well. All right, now I looked at it and I decided that it needed a little something on that craft card base. So I cut another piece of distress heavy stock so that I could color it with one of the colors from the background and make a thin little mat. The color I chose from the background was Crackling Campfire, and then I went around the card base with a little bit of walnut stain, distress ink. Before I attached that card front and mat, I did sew around it with a little bit of stitching, and then I attached it with collage medium, and I held it down with my pins, and then removed the backing from the foam tape that I used to pop up the acorn and to pop up the sentiment.
Here is my first finished card for my thankful fall making season for 2023. And I like it. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. And I am excited to also not only be using products that I've had for a while that I haven't used either in a while or ever, but also going back and using some of the things that I made when I was maybe practicing techniques and stuff like that and getting to put those to use as well. So I'm really looking forward to this whole little series that I'm going to get to do. I hope that you will follow along here on my YouTube channel, but also on my Instagram, where I may just be only posting things there for this month as well. I don't want you to miss out on any of the inspiration. So go ahead and follow me there. Everything, my blog, my Instagram, my YouTube channel, Pinterest, everything is Plays Well with Paper. So I tried to keep it really simple for you so that you can always find me on any of the social media channels. All right, well, I want to thank you so much for following along on this first of my thankful series. And if you have any questions, as always, ask in the comments below, or you can ask on my blog at playswellwithpaper.blogspot.com. And I want to wish you a very thankful and creative day.